Last Saturday, I was living pretty high on the hog. I didn't have that busy of a week, and I got to rest a little bit after a really, really crazy busy summer. And it came to Saturday. I woke up in the morning, said some prayers. Then I went and helped our Knights of Columbus to prepare for their chicken dinner that they were having. I'm not very qualified for the chicken dinner, so they allowed me to peel potatoes. So that's my job. I can peel the potatoes. After I finished peeling potatoes, I went and drove to the Plantation Inn, where I had breakfast with a really good priest friend of mine. His name's Father Jerry Villaruby. I don't know if you know Father Jerry. He used to say masses in Chauvin a good while. And he calls me young priest, and I call him old priest because he's 90 years old. So we have a nice little rapport together. I went to Lowe's to pick up a couple supplies, and I started doing some chores around this place, this knick-knack, stuff like that. And I got to weeding my garden, and in my garden, there's I don't know if you've ever been in my courtyard, but there's like 3 pots of plants on each side, and there's like a little fountain, and it empties out into a pond. And so I was weeding one side, and I tried to walk over the fountain, which I've done a couple of times before. I lost my footing, and I slipped, and I actually fell inside the pond. And I jammed my knee very badly. And I had to hurry up and pull myself out of the pond, not because I was concerned about the germs in the pond, because I didn't want my cell phone to get destroyed, right? So that's how we all work in that way. And I couldn't really walk, and I had to pull myself up and drag myself inside to the rectory. And the first thing I did was go and take a shower, because if I got to go to the emergency room, I'm not going to be stinking like a pond when I'm going to the emergency room. So I pulled myself into the shower, finally was able to take a shower. And I'm sitting on my bed, and then that's when the decisions come, right? Can I go and say Mass? Do I need to go to the emergency room? Do all these different things. That's when pride starts to speak. You see, it was pride that said, well, you're only 35 years old. You can jump across the pond just like you would, instead of just walking 5 extra steps to go around and doing it safely. Pride told me that. Pride allowed me to be humbled, right? In that way. That's one of the things about pride. It makes you think that you don't need any help, that you can do it the exact way that you always did it before. And the second thing about pride is this. Pride, even when you're hurt, pride will say, don't ask for help. You can do it yourself, right? You can make yourself better. You can do all these different things. At that moment, I had to swallow my pride. I had to say, it's not about being prideful, it's about asking for help, because at this time I need help in this way. And then I started making phone calls, and I got 3 different offers for crutches. I got several different offers for people to go and bring me to the hospital. I called Father Alex to see if someone can fill in for Mass for the weekend. No one was available, so I ended up doing the Masses for the weekend. A lot of different people were concerned about me. We call that the pauvre bête mentality. Any of y'all know what pauvre bête means? Pauvre bête means, literally translated, it means poor beast or poor thing in that way. So the pauvre bête mentality. When someone is hurting in front of you, when someone is in need of something, the Cajun heart says, I'm going to help them, right? That's the pauvre bête mentality. We help the vulnerable in that way. And so we went into that pauvre bête mentality, and as I was humbled, as I was exalted and humbled, they started to call me up to the place of honor, right? They started to exalt me by helping me in that way. That's the beautiful image we have in our gospel today. If you read the bulletin, you'll see in the bulletin there's a bunch of quotes from saints about Jesus healing a man with dropsy. And you feel like, you just read the gospel. I didn't hear anything about Jesus healing a guy with dropsy. The truth is, our gospel today goes from verse 1 to verse 7. And so there's 6 verses or 5 verses that are missing in our gospel today. And in that verse is Jesus healing this man who had dropsy. Some people are like, what is dropsy, right? Dropsy is what we would call edema today. It's where you have a lot of fluid in your legs or in your congestive heart failure or even in your head in that way. If you know, in St. Luke's Gospels, normally there's a theme going on. So he is healed, he heals somebody. Normally the miracle that he just did is related to the teaching that he's going to give afterwards, to the parable that he's going to give afterwards. So what is the link here? He heals a man that has a lot of fluid around some part of his body, physically, and then mentally, emotionally, psychologically. He tries to heal those who have a lot of fluid around their head, right? Who have a big head on pole positioning for the place of honor, right? Let me be here, let me be there. The truth is, my brothers and sisters, the gospel is very simple. If we want to live lives exalting ourselves, then we will be humbled. Why? Because we're not God. Because there will come a time when we are vulnerable, even if we don't think we're vulnerable right now. The truth is, Jesus asks us to live humbly, always living humbly, and also entering into that pav bet, right? Entering into that, I'm willing to help other people out. It's one of the main reasons why the church is always calling us to Sunday Mass, while we come and gather here together. Whether the lector mispronounces a word, or the homily is dry, or there's a baby screaming right behind you, we come here together to worship as a community. We come here as a community. We're created as a community. Created as a community so that we can help one another, so we can humble our pride and humble our own selfish desires, and instead exalt other people in that way. I'm very grateful for the help that I was given. I'm very grateful for all those that offered help in many different ways that they did. But the truth is, they offered help because they like me. The truth is, they offered help because they respect me. The end of the gospel says very clearly, offer help to people that can't give you anything back, that can't even give you a thank you note back, because that's where your reward is truly at. That's when you know that you've truly given something and not expected anything in return. When you offer something to someone that can't give you anything back. And that is what we have to open our minds to, that pav bet mentality, right? Pav bet means poor beast. It doesn't mean poor relative. It doesn't mean poor person that I like, poor this or that is connected to me. It means someone that is totally disconnected to me. So if we're willing to help those that we love, how much more should we be willing to help those who we don't know, who we don't love? Because Jesus Christ helped those that couldn't give him anything back. God gives salvation to those who can't earn it themselves. So my brothers and sisters, as we come to the table of the Lord, let us come humbled. For if we come humble, we will surely be exalted.